My 40F parents, Dad, 63M, and Mom, 60F, have been married for 43 years. I have 6 siblings, 42F, 38F, 34F, 20M, 20M, 18M. I have been with my husband, 39M, since we were 15. I got pregnant at 17 and we moved in with my parents. I gave birth to my now 22-year-old daughter. We got married at 18 shortly after. My dad's father passed shortly after our wedding and left his ranch-style house to my father. My grandparents built a house next door to my parents when they retired. My parents decided to let us live in this house and told us this would be my inheritance. My husband and I had no issues with this. We went on to have a 20M, 14F, 5F, and I'm currently 7 months pregnant with my last child. A boy, due in April. I thought I had a good marriage. We were close, we went on date nights, we bought each other gifts, we didn't fight. My entire world was shattered on New Year's Eve when I returned early from a girls' trip. I walked into my bedroom to find my mom with my husband in a highly compromising situation. My mother screamed at me to leave, which really shook me up even more. Unfortunately, my oldest daughter was also home getting ready for a party. She ran out and witnessed my mother rush out of our house and slam the door. My daughter was devastated and went to my sister's house. I asked her not to say anything until I first talked to my husband. I asked him for the truth. He told me that my mom and he had been involved since we were 18 and living in their house. They had been seeing each other regularly for longer than we were married. I ran the math and was horrified, because the timeline meant my twin brothers and youngest brother could be my husband's children. I immediately called my dad and told him to come to my house without my mom. I made my husband confess, and my dad was devastated. He and my mom were high school sweethearts. Needless to say, we could hear my mother screaming from her house when he confronted her. I then told my older sister, and we decided to host a party for the whole extended family, inviting my ex's family as well. At the party, I had my 22-year-old daughter take the younger children to the basement to watch a movie, leaving only the adults, and I told them exactly what had been happening. Most of the family is on my side, except for my 3 youngest siblings, my 38F sister, and my ex's entire family. They all say I'm wrong for exposing this publicly. Word got out and my mom's best friend, who is in leadership at my mom's church, called me to verify. My mom has since been let go as the children's pastor there, and she claims I've essentially ruined her reputation. My dad kicked her out, and she's now living with my 38F sister. Lastly, my dad insisted on a DNA test for the 3 youngest boys before he'd consider anything regarding their marriage. The twins are my husband's bio children. I've since kicked him out and he's living with his parents. My father and I are discussing me moving into his much larger house, him selling my grandfather's house, and giving me the money to buy a new place somewhere else to leave the memories behind. My husband is furious that I proved he is about to have 7 kids instead of 5, and that I'm going to be taking half his business away from him. My husband started his own HVAC company a few years back, and for the first 5 years I helped him set it up, ran the office completely, and took time away from my teaching career to help him. In my state, all marital assets, including businesses, are split 50-50ths. Since the house was still in my father's name, my husband will get no money from the sale. Neither will my mother, since inherited assets are not subject to be split in divorces. My mother is also likely to not get any alimony, as our state is not a no-fault divorce state. I'm now over a month removed, still extremely bitter and angry at my mother, especially at her hypocrisy of shaming me and my family, when she's done much worse. I also despise my ex with everything within me now. He was involved with both my mom and me, in some instances coming to our bed minutes after being with her. He got my mother pregnant shortly after I became pregnant. While I thought it was so cute that I shared a pregnancy experience with my mom, she was actually carrying my children's half-siblings. He has broken all trust one had in men. I have already procured a good lawyer, and my dad is helping pay for it. My twin brothers, one of my sisters, and my entire ex's family have gone no contact with me, and my children have essentially lost all of their grandparents except my dad, 2 uncles, and an aunt on my side, and my husband's 3 brothers. I've also developed health issues because of this, so I'm visiting the doctor soon, and I've been in therapy since January. I've offered this for my 2 adult children, but they're doing individual therapy right now. My 14-year-old knows that we're getting divorced and why. She's so angry at her dad that I struggle sending her to his house on the weekends. I feel like she's old enough to make a decision on that, but I don't want to damage her relationship with her dad. I've told all my kids it's okay to love their dad, even if he hurt me, but the oldest 2 have cut him off 100%. I won't tell my youngest 2 why we got divorced until they're teens. As for how I had no idea this was ongoing, my husband confirmed to me that they would see each other at my mom's office, in their cars, at a motel, and when we built the business, they started seeing each other routinely in his office once I went back to teaching. They also met at our houses when my father would go away on business trips or I'd be out of town. It was pure happenstance that I came home a day early from a trip because I was uncomfortable from being nearly 7 months pregnant and just wanted my own bed. Knowing they'd be carrying on this affair if I hadn't caught them is what I'm still upset about. What's hardest for me is that my own mother would do this to me and would continue for years without caring that she would be destroying her entire family. Edit. Also, to add insult to injury, my husband confirmed in one of our mediated conversations that the affair started when I apparently made him angry. He didn't tell me and instead vented to my mom. She comforted him and they became involved. He said he would have divorced me but knew he'd get cut off from her, and he called me a placeholder. Of all the betrayal, that statement is what keeps me up at night. TLDR. My mom had a long-term relationship with my husband for 22 years, got pregnant with twins, and continued the affair until I caught them on New Year's Eve, while I was nearly 7 months pregnant. I publicly exposed it. My mom lost her job, her marriage, and her home. Update. I tried hard to go the route of a mediated divorce, but my ex told me yesterday through his lawyers that he doesn't believe that the baby I'm carrying is his, and he wants a DNA test as soon as he's born because he doesn't want to support a child that isn't his. He also claims that I routinely broke his trust during our marriage and that I knew about his ongoing affair and used that as an excuse to do the same. None of that is true, but I kind of wish it was because it would make the divorce process less complicated. My lawyer basically told me to get ready for a long, drawn-out, brutal contested divorce and that my ex is likely going to try every underhanded tactic in the book to make my life even more difficult. FAQ/update. This has gone viral on Twitter, and thanks to the people who let me know in DMs. So, I will answer some questions posed both here and there. My twin brothers look like my mother's side of the family. They look very close to my uncle and grandfather. They clearly don't look like my dad at all, but they also don't resemble my husband much either. My son looks like my soon-to-be ex-husband, and he's the only child that you can visibly tell is his, although my 14F daughter has his nose and jaw shape. I was definitely enraged the day everything went down, but my dad talked me out of doing anything impulsive and reminded me that I needed to think of my baby and my other kids before doing something that would remove both of their parents from their lives. I still lived in a rage for the next few days, which is what led to the party. I only regret not telling my brothers privately that my mother had been involved in an affair. I honestly don't know all the reasons my 38F sister is on my mother's side. She hasn't gotten along with me or my other sisters since high school. I'm not that worried about her. My twin brothers are upset that I shared the news publicly. That is what my dad has gathered from them. They are also in therapy, and my dad has told me to just give them time. He thinks they are just killing the messenger. I did not tell them the possibility that my ex was their biological father, but they can do the math and figured out that they are the same age as my son, who is younger than the length of the affair. My dad sat them down and explained his reasoning for the DNA test was to prove the affair and not because he was going to abandon them. He is their father regardless of the biological results. I don't believe that my mother and my soon-to-be ex-husband waited until he was 18 to start their relationship, but at this point, I'm letting my dad fight that fight and letting him do what he needs to when dealing with her and their divorce. I have contingency plans ready to enact in the event they decide to move in together, but my lawyer doesn't believe my ex is foolish enough to do that while the divorce proceedings are turning hostile. I forgot to add this earlier. My husband is 4 months younger than me. My birthday is in December and his is in April. He will be 40 soon. We were in the same graduating class all through school from kindergarten through high school. He's not a full year younger than me as others have speculated. I'm focusing on my pregnancy, my kids, and moving on. I may provide an update after the divorces are finalized, but thanks to everyone for the support and advice. Thanks for letting me vent and get this off my chest. Update 3. I had a phone conversation with my aunt today, my mother's sister, and she told me there is a family history of unfaithfulness on their side of the family. My grandma was unfaithful to my grandpa for years, but they reconciled. My aunt herself had multiple emotional affairs but is still married to my uncle. She actually tried to blame genetics for my mother's choices. I laughed out loud at the absurdity of that attempt to justify the situation. And now my aunt is upset with me for not wanting to hear my mother's explanations. My dad and my lawyer both say I should hear her out, so I'm still considering doing it right before we meet in early March to establish custody. Edit. I should mention that I asked my aunt if my mother inherited these tendencies, which child she passed them on to, and how my grandma managed to pass them on to both her daughters. So that's probably why she's upset. Honestly, I have lost all sympathy for people who betray their partners after what I've been through. The final update seems to be gone, but if I remember correctly, it was something along the lines of the ex-husband leaving the crazy mother because she was annoying. Twins are okay now and talking to OP and Dad. Sister is somewhat understanding OP's POV. OP sold her share of the business to X, so no more ties. I may be wrong, but that's how I remembered it before it was removed.